When the faithful slave or the governing body realizes that our understanding of certain points of truths needs to be clarified, they do not hesitate to make the needed adjustment. While many denominations of Christendom today make changes to please their church's members and get closer to the world's points of view, the changes made by Jehovah's organization are designed to draw us closer to God and to the pattern of worship established by Jesus Christ. The adjustments we make are driven not by popular demands, not by modern trends, but by the clearer understanding of the Scriptures. How should we react if such adjustment is presented to us? We can keep in mind or take to heart the words of Apostle Paul found in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 12. Let's turn our Bible to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 12. And this is what Paul reminded us. Now we request you, brothers, to show respect for those who are working hard among you and presiding over you in the Lord and admonishing you. Yes, we are always ready to accept organizational adjustments and cooperate with direction from the governing body. At the end of this system of things, our survival may depend on taking timely action. May we always act in harmony with the great timekeeper, Jehovah God.
Because again, your survival may depend on it. We've just been hearing from Christopher Ovis, who is a Bethelite at the Warwick, New York headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. He is speaking on the Friday afternoon of the Exercise Patience Convention, and he's giving Jehovah's Witnesses a 101, really, on the New Light teaching, or at least the Jehovah's Witness angle on the New Light teaching. I don't want to go into this in too much detail because I've already debunked everything that Christopher has just said in this video about New Light, which I put out quite some time ago, in which I give actual examples showing how haphazard and makeshift and frankly human the whole New Light process is when it comes to arriving at new understandings of Scripture. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of one adjustment they made around about 2019 when David Splain announced that they'd come to a new understanding of the prophetic meaning of locusts in Joel compared to Revelation. Because prior to that point, it had been assumed that the locusts that both books were referring to were the same, and he went to great lengths to explain that actually they're different locusts. The ones in Joel are bad and the ones in Revelation are good. And the reason why the governing body, as late as just a few years ago, had arrived at this epiphany is because they'd suddenly learned to read the Bible in context. That was the reason. Oh, well, when we consider the context of this Bible verse, we realize that it's not talking about the same locusts. It's taken you that long to do something as simple as read the Bible in context. And when Christopher is talking here about the governing body not hesitating to introduce new light once they arrive at a scriptural understanding, again, the history of the organization is laden with examples that contradict this. How do you explain, if it's all about taking urgent action to correct something, how do you explain flip-flops? How do you explain instances where the organization has gone from doing something to deciding that that thing is terrible and then going back to doing that thing that they were doing to begin with, such as the elder arrangement? Charles Taze Russell had an elder arrangement when he was presiding over the Watchtower Society. His successor, Joseph Rutherford, comes along and decides that elders are terrible and evil. He writes Watchtower article after Watchtower article, book after book, explaining how elected elders are this terrible, terrible thing, and they're out to deceive God's people or stop them from preaching. And as a result, the elder arrangement, it doesn't get reformed, it gets completely disbanded, so that you have just a congregation servant, just one man in each congregation who takes the role of shepherding or leading the congregation. And then in the Nathan Knorr era, they go back to having elders. It's a flip-flop. It's an entirely human process. There's nothing divine. There's no inspiration in that. They've just changed their minds. They've gone with the winds of change that their organization, like any religious organization, has been subjected to. So if you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses, again, check out that New Light video, but just watch this talk, watch this sushi and the sushi before, and you'll see that Christopher's argumentation about New Light is all over the place. In reality, coming up with new understandings of Scripture and constantly changing your mind about what the Bible has to say is an evidence that you are a man-made organization and you're just making it up as you go along.